analogical reasoning. You're comparing two things to see, are they similar or are they dissimilar? And based upon that similarity or dissimilarity, can I use this to put forth my argument about something? We're going to get more into case law and comparisons. Deductive reasoning. When you analyze an employee handbook or a policy, a company policy or a code or a rule of law or local ordinance, you're going to use deductive reasoning to do that. And these three metrics, they intertwine, as you will see, because we're going to go through some hypothetical case patterns that will show you how you evolve from one metric, linear reasoning, into another metric, deductive reasoning, to arrive at the conclusion that you need to obtain a certain result. Now, before we discuss linear reasoning, analogical reasoning, and deductive reasoning, there's what's called rules of engagement. It's like a referee for the review. If your neighbor dog bit your child and you want to take this guy to court, well, somebody's going to look at the rules, somebody's going to look at the code to determine what the rights and obligations of each party is to the other. So that there's a procedure, there's order to going forward, going into battle, going for the fight, going into an analysis of something. There are rules of engagement. And the first rule of engagement, as I call it, is shall, must, and may. Page 3. Shall, must, and may. Shall, if you read it in a code, if you read it in a newspaper, if you read it in a textbook, if you read it in a magazine, I don't care where you read it. If you see the word shall or must, it is mandatory language. Everything after shall or must has to be followed and interpreted literally. Everything after shall and must. You'll probably see must more regularly than you see shall. Shall is so official. It's, oh, you're forbidden from do that, and thou shalt not. You get the gist. So you'll see more in everyday layman's language the word must. When you read a code, a magazine, a note from your school for parents, if there is the word must in it, everything after that word, that auxiliary verb called must, has to be followed literally. Okay? That's a rule of engagement when you are processing any information you encounter. I don't care where it comes from. Okay? Must and shall. You'll see the word must more than you see the word shall. But if you see either one, guess what? You're going to put a circle around it because it's just that important to your analysis of the entire read. You've got to know, well, is it permissive? Can I do it or can I not? Or does it say must or shall? If it says must or shall, you must do it. Okay. May is permissive. You can if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too. May is permissive language. And when you see the word may, you're going to circle that because the entire sentence hinges upon that one auxiliary verb. And you have to be able to interpret, well, how do I apply? What is that rule of engagement for the rest of this reading? How do I apply the word shall, must, or may? Okay? Down at the bottom of page 4, a bylaw in your company's articles of incorporation may provide. It may provide it, or it may not provide it. But it may provide, it's permissive. It may provide that expenses incurred in defending a proceeding shall be advanced. If you put that statement in there, it's mandatory to advance it. Advance what? The expenses incurred in defending the proceeding. You can put that provision in or you cannot. But if you do, it operates mandatory. Those expenses shall be advanced, and what is the word advanced? Beforehand. You see those little diagonal marks that I put there in intervals? That's so that when you're reading a policy or a rule of law, you're going to break it up like a pie, like you slice a pie, because every word within that diagonal subset means something to your ultimate interpretation of that policy. Even after 47 years, I can't just sit down and read a policy or a rule of law and know it. I've got to separate it into, it's like slicing up a pie. You slice up the pie in quarters, you analyze the first quarter, and you put that back, and you analyze the next quarter, you analyze the third quarter and the fourth. Once you've analyzed each slice of the pie, put it back together. Now you've got it. So you look at words like shall, must, may, and you use your diagonals to break that up so that you're analyzing it in bite-sized pieces. You know, when you go home, let your hair down, listen to TV, read something, and you read it very casually, and that's good. But when you're thinking critically when it matters, these are the rules of engagement to apply. And you will apply them in any industry, in any area of your life for the rest of your life. That's how it works with linear reasoning, analogical reasoning, and deductive reasoning, and it being applied in the context of shall, must, may, and the conjunction and the disjunctive or. Bet you didn't know that you had to pay real attention to the conjunction and the disjunctive or. For instance, and we're going to go through this, the rule of law for common law burglary. The trespassory, breaking and entering the dwelling of another in the nighttime with an intent to commit a felony or stealth therein. Breaking and entering. You can't just break. You got to break and enter in order for that element of that rule of law to apply. Breaking and entering, the conjunction in every event on each side of the conjunction and must occur at the same time in order for that element to be satisfied. If you don't have a breaking and an entering, you don't have common law burglary. You might have a breaking, a lesser included offense, but you don't have breaking and entering as one of the elements satisfied for the larger crime of burglary. Okay? So and, when you read and, circle it. When you read or, circle it. Or is the disjunctive. Either one will apply. If it said trespassory, breaking, or entering, if there was a trespass, fine, you satisfied the first element. Breaking or entering, if there was a breaking, the element is satisfied. If there was an entering, the element is satisfied. But that's not what it says. It uses the conjunction and. Therefore, both must operate at the same time in order for that element to be satisfied. So always look at and or. And that's how you interpret it.